Everything you see over here, I mean everything, looked exactly like this over here. Briars, thorns, thistles, they're your worst enemy, right? But I'm gonna show you today how I use him and this to solve all my issues. Ain't that right, little boy? When you're in an area like this, it feels like an impossible task when you know you've got to get rid of all of these thorns, briars, bristles, all these things that everybody hates. Nobody wants to deal with this stuff. And you gotta bring the right dog or sheep or goat to the hunt. We're gonna show you how we transformed an area just like this into something that is now thriving, and we did it in under a year. You should first ask yourself how you got here in the first place. Because when you see thorns, briars, bristles, all those things that you don't necessarily want, they're there for one of two reasons usually. One, there's too much of something, or there's too little of another. They are there to replenish what was missing out there. So what you call weeds in many cases are actually what we call pioneer species. They're there only because the ground has almost certainly been abused, and it was. Before we got here, the people that own this place, they had more cows than you can possibly imagine in too small a space, and they absolutely decimated the environment. We've talked about it before. The trees were falling down, all these other crazy things. I think he thinks I'm a tree because he's over here nibbling on me. They've created such damage that it's taking years to undo it, and it can be undone. But you gotta take the right dog to the hunt, and you gotta know how to use them. So step one was identify how you got there in the first place, if you're able. Step two is figuring out what dog to bring to the hunt. Now, over here you see sheep, we got babies, we got grown-ups, we got all of the above over here, and the little ones are just about weaned, at least most of them. That is not where I started. This was such a thorny, thickety mess, I couldn't even stand where I am until we brought in the first pioneers. In fact, we brought in our version of the U.S. Army sapper. They came in there, they breached the way into the lane. Those sappers were pigs in our case. Those pigs basically cleared as much as we could to be able to get the sheep in here. Those pigs came in like bulldozers, knocked over some of the big stuff, and when we fed them, we basically fed them on top of the multi-floor rows, and they uprooted most of it. There's still a fair amount in here, but at least now we're able to get in our ground troops, our infantry, to come in here and do the real work. This is an area that still needs a fair amount of remediation, and we're working on it. But I want to show you, because the area I'm about to show you right now, the fence is basically the demarcation point. You see this? Everything you see over here, I mean everything, looked exactly like this over here. And I mean exactly like it. It might have even been worse. So, step one, identify the problem. Step two, take the right dog or pig or sheep or whatever to the hunt. This is step number three, because you gotta have a vision. And that vision is, what do you want it to be? Right now, this is now grazing. I mean, folks, this is astonishing. In about a year, this is how long it took. So I'm asking myself, what do I want it to be? I know you can't get a sense of angle, but this thing goes up essentially like this. Didn't want cows, didn't want to risk the injury, didn't want to risk other things. So I got sheep, very agile kind of sheep. But I'm asking myself, what do I want it to be? Well, it doesn't have to always be the one thing you thought it was going to be. In my case, I was kind of vacillating around, well, do I want to make a mountain orchard up here? Because I love trees and I love orchards and I love those systems. Do I want that? Or do I want it to be a continuously grazing system? Do I want it to be a silvopasture? Do I want it to be a bunch of different things? Because as I'm walking, you can see this heavily laden peach tree, which used to be my problem child, best peach on the planet. Got an apple tree right here. And as we go through here, got a plum, got all these other things. So I'm asking myself, what do I want it to be? Billy, you got to make up your mind. So over here, we went from pasture to orchard in just a few steps. So in my case, what I think I want it to be, because I don't have to have all the answers at first. Right now, what I want it to be is winter grazing. It's going to be for winter stockpile, but I'm going to graze it right now, and I'm not going to touch it again until winter, unless there are things I don't want to see. So for me, that's what the first plan of this is, to turn it from the thorny, thickety mess that it was into something I can graze. And then I'm thinking terracing this all the way up the mountain until I get to the point where it can be an orchard. Or maybe I could do it something of a silvopasture, a weird kind of silvopasture, where I could have the interaction of the animals and trees all in the same place. So that is step number 3. You gotta have vision, folks. This is where we get down to brass tacks here. Step number 4, you gotta put foot to butt. And there ain't no way around it in an environment like this. You're not driving up this. I mean, this is extraordinarily steep. You're not driving up it. So that means I gotta use my BMW. You know what that is? Boots made for walking. And I got a net right here. So we're gonna start at the top. We got our perimeter fence way, way up there. There's no getting around it. So I'm thinking, okay, how can I stack a bunch of functions? I am going to get a serious cardio workout by walking this all the way up there. And then we got to string it out on the way down. So that requires some work as well. It's not easy. It's not always fun, but it does become fun when I see what the end result is. I mean, good night, man. This is something I'm very proud of. And like I said, this essentially happened in the season just by taking the right dog to the hunt. We'll talk more about it, but this is the next critical step, because right now they're over here in the area that needs massive remediation. And now I'm putting them in the area that has already been remediated. Now the next thing to do is to literally walk up this mountain. Hey, you may be cute and all, but you gotta behave. Hey! Here we are at the top of the mountain. Had to catch my breath. And like my man Mike Dixon, the Fit Farmer, always says, you can overlay your fitness along with your farm activities. In fact, if you do that with the intention, you will be shocked at how well it works out for you. So we're in a part of the property that you've never seen before. And if I want this to be any kind of pasture up here, well, clearly we got a lot of problems, okay? When I say a lot of problems, we got thorns, thistles, briars, all those things down there. And then right up here, we got this understory that needs to go away. Now, do I have an understory problem or do I have a lack of sheep problem? Because that's exactly the way you got to start thinking. We got to get out of this reductionistic mentality of thinking, oh, I got this problem, we need one solution. You got solutions that could be gifts that keep on giving, and this is one of them. So here's how I'm gonna do this. I got my fence over here, and I'm gonna string it out. I'm gonna put it on my perimeter fence that I have right here. I haven't electrified it yet, but that's coming in the future. And I'm gonna run it off, and I'm gonna make another paddock right here. And then as the sheep are working in here, because judging by my view, they probably got 3 days worth of food in here, maybe more. But you know what? You can extend it when I'm making the problem the solution. Because I'm gonna come through, I'm gonna chop all these down, I'm gonna lay it over, the sheep are gonna eat all the leaves, and guess what else I'm feeding? The forest. Because a new forest rises on the old forest. I'm solving so many problems all at the same time. I'm feeding the sheep, and I'm also feeding the fungus, which is eventually going to break these little saplings down. Now I'm gonna open up some sunlight back in here and get some grass that I can actually graze. So look, enough talking, time to put foot to butt, just like I told you. So we're at a point where I gotta use my EDC, or my everyday carry, which is exactly why I carry a Leatherman everywhere I go. And it has this wave has this little saw on here. Look, these aren't saplings. I need access. You see me wear that shirt from Eric Sider where it says access, structures, and water. Not in that order, but you get the point. Well, I gotta have access for this, which means I gotta cut a little bit of path. Okay, as I'm running this fence, you can see where you see some of this stuff popping up from last year. Okay, Now, is that a problem? Because you could say, well, it's coming back, it's coming back. The problem is the solution. This is going to be feed for my sheep. They're going to constantly, if we do our grazing right, they're going to constantly work through this, and they're going to beat the life cycle of this. These guys are not like grass. A tree is not like grass. It can only take so much impact before it ends up dying and going away and being replaced by something else. But you see it all throughout here, all throughout this area. Everything we chop down, or you could say in that case, we coppiced because we expected it to come back, it's now fodder. So the problem is the solution. We got sticks, some of them being broken down by fungus. We came through this area last year and we let the sheep work it over. And it's, believe it or not, it was almost impassable. We had to come through with machetes, weed eaters, and chainsaws just to even get access. So what you're seeing up here right now, even though it's not anywhere close to perfect, it is improvement. Keep in mind, y'all, these are wars. We don't win in miles, we win in inches. Okay, as I'm stringing this out, I'm also looking around at my environment, and what I see is this Chinese silvergrass popping up all throughout this area. So what do I do in there? Because they're not gonna eat it. Unless it's very, very juvenile, they will not touch it. But what they will do is eat everything around it, and it's gonna stick out like a beacon when I roll in here because I'm gonna have to go to work. As soon as they get out of this paddock, I'm gonna roll through with my weed eater, knock down that silvergrass because it behaves a lot like a tree. If I stay on top of it, keep it back, it won't come back. And then also, compost extract is going to be my very good friend right in this area. Folks, that's it in a nutshell. This is how we turn that into this. It's really not that difficult. It really isn't, but it is absolutely critical that you do not overgraze. So find the problems, take the right dog or sheep to the hunt, ain't that right, little boy? And then go out there and do some really, really cool things. All right, y'all, if you need anything from us, Bone Sauce, world's best deer repellent. I actually make it right here. If you need comfrey or the salve that we just put on these sheep, we even use it on us. Go check us out at the website. Anything you might need down below, EMP Shield, Harvest Right, freeze dryers, you name it, we got it all down there. Till next time, this is Billy from Perma Pastures Farm, where permaculture is my passion. Ain't that right, little guy? We'll see y'all next time.